Hey guys, CVH here from BetweenTheLanes.net, and for one of the first strategy videos for the site, I'll be doing a deck tech of one of the first decks I've actually been playing the BTL ladder with, or the Elder Scrolls Legends ladder rather. So this is a Sorcerer blue-purple deck, intelligence and endurance attributes, and basically this is a control deck. And just so you all know, it's still not optimized. This is one of my first experiments with the ranked play. I've been starting with a lot of arena, but I figured I'd show you all sort of my starting point. I would definitely call this a rough draft more than anything. It'll definitely have updates, but just to give you a general idea, and I'll be streaming this later today, and I'll be posting some games on the YouTube and on the site of some highlighted games from the stream. So I figured just to give you a baseline of what I'm actually playing in the deck, so you guys have an idea of what it's trying to do and the cards that are actually in it. But of course, this deck will undergo updates as we discover what the meta actually is, what cards work, what cards are just sort of bad ideas. Let's just start with the curve though, and I'll show you all what the initial blue-purple control deck looks like. To give you a general idea though, this deck is supposed to be taking the game later than an aggro deck, for sure, later than some probably the green-yellow decks you might be seeing on the ladder, or any deck with red. We're trying to push it sort of to the late game, get a ton of value out of our cards, and we're going to push it to the late game through removal and efficient trades. Ideally, this is the idea. It's been working well so far, but we'll see. So for removal, we start the curve with the 1 magic card, 3 Firebolt. It seems fine against, 2 2s, 3 2s, whatever. They just die for free to the Firebolt. Excuse the update there. High Rock Summoner is more of an experiment right now. I took out a different card for this. Seems like it's fine value. You can get a 5/5 guard, you can get a 7/5 ward, which, as I'll mention, is sort of relevant for this deck because it has a mini theme of ward creatures. His Speaker is for ramp and for general trading with other small minions, other small creatures. Basically all the small creatures in this deck. This is how we get to the late game, basically. We have to play our own small creatures because the card pool is still relatively small, it seems, so it's hard to simply stall the game without playing creatures of your own. Which brings us to Shrieking Harpy, which is probably one of my favorite blue cards so far, my favorite intelligence cards. Prophecy, and it shackles an enemy creature, and it's just fine on turn 2 sometimes, just to get something out there that trades. These two 2-drops, Wardcrafter and Windkeep Spellsword, both have ward essentially, because on the worst case you can give ward to yourself with Wardcrafter and make a 2/1 ward, whereas this is simply a 2/2 ward. Late in the game, Wardcrafter has additional value because you can give something much larger than itself ward and trade up with something similarly large for a ton of value out of this simple 2-mana creature, 2-magic creature. Kumlorn Sentinel, I'm just testing it as another way to stall the game. Solid 2/4. Cunning Ally, another solid 3-drop. I believe there are 30 blue cards in this deck as of this particular build. Could go up. But, so, slightly more than half the time you'll get the Firebolt, and if you do, it's crazy value, and if you don't, then 3/3 for 3. Not the greatest, but definitely not bad. This is the first legendary card in the deck, and it's not unique. There could be more of them in the deck if we want to. I only have one. I'm testing it out right now. It seems good, if not a tiny bit slow. I will say this deck isn't really budget-friendly the way I have it built right now, and I doubt it would be more so if it was optimized. I think, if anything, there would be slightly more legendaries in it. But fear not, I will be doing budget deck techs as well. For this deck, I do think the legendaries are required. So this trades, and you get a Tome of Alteration, which, as you can see, gives +2/+2 to a creature, and you draw a card when you play it for 4. Fits the theme of the deck because we want to have the wards. It trades well. Tome allows us to cycle slightly. Mummify, so I'll just talk about the entire removal package while we're here. How about that? So we have the Fire Bolts, and we have the Lightning Bolts to take care of relatively small cards that we might, need to one-shot from an aggro or mid-range opponent. Firestorm and Ice Storm, we have 2 of each of those as our sort of sweepers, area of effect AoE cards. We should be able to use them to clear boards of, again, relatively small cards. And against that's like aggro, and, we use ideally we get Firestorm on a Prophecy against a board of, 2 health creatures, and that'd be fantastic. Ice Storm is sort of we need to make it to this card, and if we do so, we should be able to stabilize from there. And, it might not kill both of these. We have a lot of guys with ward, and if we haven't traded with the ward yet, the ward could protect them from the damage. But that leaves us with the problem of what do we do against something large, and this is why we have the 2 Mummifies. This could be bigger. I feel like there's going to be a lot of aggro on the ladder, as opposed to slow mid-range decks with a lot of bombs, or slow control decks such as this with a lot of bombs. So I'm at 2 right now for Mummify, which is a fantastic card against a solitary huge threat, but slightly less good against aggro, where you're probably just going to turn a 3/3 into a 2/2 or something for 3 mana. That's not really what you want to be doing unless it's a very dire circumstance. But it could easily go up to 3 Mummifies, depending on how the meta shakes up. But right now, I think 2 is correct. And that should be about it for the spell-based removal. I'll go into the other cards that could potentially function as removal in a second. Tree Minder, Solid Ramp, it's a guard, which means it can eat damage. Ideally, it eats more than 1 damage because it's just a 1/1, so it's not really going to kill anything. But, you know, we need to ramp our Magicka up. If we have the time to play this card, it's fantastic. Midnight Sweep, another simple stall card, you know, develop 2/2/2s with guard. And it's Prophecy, fine value from your hand as well. Preserve of the Root, not fantastic on 4 as a 4/4, but, you know, that's not the worst. You can trade with something. We really don't have any actual creatures to play on 4 besides, like, the Sweep and the Preserver. Of course, if we make it to 7, it becomes a 4 magic, a 6/6 with Taunt. With Guard, excuse me, I'm still learning the terms, man. I'm really trying here, but if you're from Hearthstone, this should be helpful just calling it Taunt instead of Guard. Anyway, it'll eat up some attacks. If you make it to 7, this is a fantastic draw, especially because it allows you to use the rest of your Magicka efficiently. So Shadowfen Priest, this could easily be a 3 of as well. You get a Silence or Destroy an Enemy support card. As I'm finding out through my first forays into Ranked, both of these effects could be incredibly game-changing. You know, Silence actually removes items as well, which I didn't initially know, so it even has a ton of value against aggressive decks where you think this card might be a little bit weak, but if they buff up one huge threat with a bunch of items, you can silence all the items off. If it's some crazy control card, you can silence that. You can simply remove support cards, such as Divine Fervor, which is the yellow one that gives everything +1/+1 indefinitely, or, you know, something like the Gold Brand. This seems like a fantastic thing to use Shadowfen Priest on. Yeah, this card is very versatile. I think that should probably be a 3 of in here, but I haven't tested it really yet, so we're sticking with 2 for now. If we see a ton of supports as well as silenceable creatures, this should definitely go up to 3. Stormhelm Champion, another epic 5-drop 3/3. Breakthrough Ward, and it loses a ward against +3/+3, so this is kind of, if not slow, it is a little bit slow, right? But the value of this card is pretty tremendous. We have the 3/3 ward, which can trade with something small. If it loses the ward, it's a 5 for 6/6, which in itself is just fantastic, right? So, I mean, we have the ward initially, and then it turns into a very valuable creature, right? Because 5-drop 6/6 can, if we're able to stall the game with our, you know, we have 1s, 2s, and 3s, and 4s to stall up until the mid-game, then we have the champion, which should easily take over the board. If they drop a 5/5 or 5 or something similar, this should be able to just eat it, given it enough time. And all of the ward cards we've mentioned sort of function with the Hiking Emmerich. As of right now, I've only played it a few times, and every time it's only dealt the 2 damage, because Hiking Emmerich has been the only card with ward I've had on the board. But 6 for 5/5 ward, by itself, that's already fine. And then we have the initial 2 damage it's going to be able to deal to any creature we need to pick off, or even the face. If we have more wards, which is totally realistic, if, you know, we have the tiny wards. So this could easily just deal 4-8 damage on a single target when it's played, and that's just insane value, guys. So this is definitely a card for this deck. If there is a deck for it, it would be this one. Goldbrand, we're pushing the game late, and in the late game we're trying to get a lot of value from cards, and this seems like one of the cards you can get a lot of value from in the late game. Can pick off 3 threats, deals a total of 2, 4, 6, that's 12 damage. So unless it's destroyed by something like the Priest, or that neutral card that also destroys support, that's great to close out the game. And then we have sort of the value package of legendaries. The actual ratio on these is probably incorrect. I'm just going to say that right now. I'm just basically testing these 3 out to see what the ratio is. Odoving is unique, so we can only play 1 of them. Seems like another additional sweeper to go with our Ice Storms and Firestorms. We'll probably just immolate the entire board that we play it on, and probably set up lethal as well because it's a 10 damage creature, so unless they have something like a Mummify, this is going to get in there and most likely just win us the game at that point. So we probably should be playing this one, and we have the mana ramp to sort of support it. This is a guard, so I decided, you know, I'd give this a shot, see if it's good against aggro, see if we need it. Blood Magic Lord, I'm still testing out, seeing how the spells actually interact. But this is mostly for like those control-on-control games where you need to get a lot of value. Supreme Atromancer is probably it could be better than one of these 2. It could just be a 2 or maybe even a 3 of. The one downside is sometimes you don't want to be dealing the damage to your opponent, like there are times against an aggro deck when you still want to develop the board, which this does. It makes a pretty huge board, but it also deals face damage, so you might be breaking a rune, giving them card advantage, which could be a problem. But this card does allow you to go from sort of a stable, you know, both players top decking sort of board state to all of a sudden you have, you know, 2 5/3s and a 3/3, and they have breakthrough, and you're probably just going to set up lethal in a couple turns, which is something that the Blood Magic Lord does not do. So it really depends what this deck's looking for. I do think we should experiment with 2 of these, probably. Seems correct. But that's basically the idea, right? We're playing valuable early game. We're trying to use our spells and our minions efficiently, or our creatures efficiently, to trade with other creatures. This deck can actually have some pretty strong tempo starts thanks to the ward crafters and the spell swords. And, you know, we can just take advantage of the board early, use our spells to kill the one thing they're playing a turn, and actually, you know, get in there and break a couple runes early. But that's not really the game plan generally, but it is a thing that could easily happen. But, you know, our real strength with this deck seems to be the mid to the late game. The 5-drop pluses are the things with real value, which we're trying to get to, and get a lot of value from them over the course of however many turns it takes, and eventually finish them off with, you know, something huge, right? Because that's what's fun, playing something huge and killing your opponent with it. Anyway, yeah, I'll be posting some highlights on this channel, so be sure to click subscribe. More deck techs coming soon. Not all of them will have a lot of legendaries. I'll try to do some budget deck techs too, because I realize the game just came out and people need to, you know, build their collections, take time to build their collections, right? And, you know, I'll make sure to update this deck as we see if it works in general or not. Be sure to follow betweenthelane.net. I'll also be posting this there, so if you see this, it'll be along with some highlighted games. Be sure to check those out. Twitter. Everything should be on the screen. Just follow those links, and I'll see you next time, guys. Thanks for watching.